everybody. My name is Philip Shepard. I'm a local real estate agent located right here in Northwest Arkansas. And today we're talking about part 2 of some of the differences about Northwest Arkansas homes, some of the things on the inside, some of the things on the outside, and some of the things all around the whole area. So let's talk about that. But before we begin, if you could like this video right down there, that would make the world of difference. I try to produce as much content as humanly possible about Northwest Arkansas. I'm just trying to make sure that my content goes in front of the right people at the right time looking to move here. Hey, that could be you. So thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. All right, so this is part 2 about definitely some different things about homes in Northwest Arkansas. And the first thing we need to talk about is the fact that why are there so many fireplaces in Northwest Arkansas homes? I don't get it. Why are there so many fireplaces here? I live in a warmer environment now. I can understand if we're in Chicago, New York, Wisconsin, colder areas. I don't know why a lot of these homes have fireplaces. My home has a fireplace. Do I ever use it? No, why would I use a fireplace? I moved away from that. So when I first moved here, I thought it was a fluke because I started obviously looking at homes a couple years back and I was like, oh yeah, there's a fireplace here, fireplace here. I'm like, why is there fireplaces? And the thing with the fireplaces is that they're not like wood fireplaces. You can't actually burn wood in them. They're just gas log fireplaces. You know, maybe you want a fireplace? Great, awesome. There's fireplaces for you. I don't really need a fireplace. But a lot of times when you're coming down here, you'll quickly realize that people like to put fireplaces in these homes. Now, if you're looking at like a home that's like in the more upper price range, that becomes more of a feature, like part of the ambiance of the home itself. But when it comes to like starter homes between like 3-bedroom, 2-bath in certain areas, and there's a fireplace there, I just really question why. Who thought this was a good idea? I don't want one. Maybe you do, but I definitely don't want one. And also another interesting difference about Northwest Arkansas, and this it's not as common anymore, but it does happen, is there are some places and some homes that just don't have gutters. And that kind of freaked me out for the first time because I'm like, in Illinois, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's basements. There's no basements, but there's basements in Illinois. And that means the water is going next to the actual foundation, which is leaking into the basement. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And then I realized, wait, there's no basements. So I guess you don't need gutters, I suppose. But a lot of times, like 80% of the homes, 90% of the homes are gonna have gutters. It's not till you get to some more like older style homes from like the 70s or 80s and potentially 90s, you might see homes without gutters and they've been fine without them, but it's just kind of like a thing. I would want to push the water away from my house in general, even though it's on a slab. I just don't want water hanging around the base of my house per se. But don't be surprised if there's a home you're looking at that potentially might not have gutters. So just be aware of that. Kind of weird thing, but obviously gutters can be put on. We know that. That reminds me. I have a 3-day itinerary. So maybe you're coming down to Northwest Arkansas and you're quickly realizing like, oh my gosh, there's so much to do because there's so much to do. I made a 3-day itinerary for you. So when you come down here, you can just use the 3-day itinerary and just do all the amazing things in Northwest Arkansas. Maybe you're an adventurer, maybe you're a sports person, maybe you have kids, maybe you're a sightseer, maybe you're a foodie. There's a 3-day itinerary link down below for you. So go ahead and download it. Also, when you do come down here, I can give you the $10 tour so I can kind of show you around the whole area. Also, we can check out some homes for sale or for rent and see how far your dollar will go in Northwest Arkansas compared to where you're coming from. Another interesting thing that happened to me when I moved down here with homes was the fact that I kind of realized that carports are normal around here. Now, obviously, I didn't end up with a carport, but it was kind of common around certain areas and certain price ranges that like a carport was widely accepted. And so after I lived down here for a while, I quickly realized like, oh wait, okay, so I can understand why carports are accepted because it doesn't really rain here a whole lot. So it's not like you're gonna like have like obviously all this weather elements all the time around your vehicle. And on top of that, if you're in Illinois, you will never use a carport because of the fact that it's gonna be negative 20 degrees outside for most of the winter. And so you need a garage, obviously. But down here, it doesn't get that cold in the wintertime. And it's like the weather isn't like super severe down here when it comes to elements. So it kind of makes sense like, okay, I can see where they're going with the carports, but it is definitely nice to have a garage, don't get me wrong. But if you are coming down here and you're in a certain price range or there's maybe an older style home, just know that if it has a carport, very common, very normal. You can always add on a different garage if you wanted to, but it's not the end of the world if there is a carport. So one of those weird differences, I suppose. And fourthly, this was an interesting thing for me because coming from Illinois, like there's just not that much space out there because things have been built out for many, many, many years. But the interesting thing with Northwest Arkansas is the fact that a lot of homes have a lot of good space out here. Your yard will honestly be pretty big. Now, there are definitely subdivisions out there that cram it all together, but it's not surprising to find a subdivision that you have a pretty good yard, to say the least. And, you know, whether you want like a pool or if you want like more like a trampoline, or maybe a pool on a trampoline, or maybe a pool and a trampoline and a swing set all in one, that's a good idea. Write that down. So those are options out there, of course. There are a lot of different sized lands out here, whether you want a couple acres or whether you want just like a quarter of an acre or smaller, that's obviously an option as well. But a lot of times the builders out here definitely keep it around quarter of an acre, maybe a little bit less for larger subdivisions. but there are definitely a lot of places that have bigger lots that you can have the kids and dogs and go crazy out there. So don't be surprised when you come down here that there is a lot more land than you might be expecting from like Portland, California, the bigger cities, obviously New York, stuff like that. And last but certainly not least is almost everyone has fences. So that was an interesting thing coming down here because in Illinois, there were fences, but it was a little bit more, there were more chain link and potentially fences. Like not everyone had a fence to say the least. It was like a 50-50 split, maybe a little bit less. But coming to Arkansas, everybody has a fence and it's always a wooden fence that's 6 feet tall. So it is kind of a benefit because then you always know where your property line is. And so it's kind of cool because like, it's just a for sure thing. Like there's no questionable things. Like you can put a shed next to the fence. There's no question like no surveys per se to like, okay, is my shed going to be 10 feet in or 10 feet out or all the different things. Like the fence is nice because it kind of keeps you into like where you are, so to speak. And it's kind of a common thing because everyone has fences and usually the builders put up fences when they build the homes itself. So it's pretty cool just because when you're getting into the home, you know exactly what you're owning and the neighbors are okay with it, obviously, and because they all have fences. So it makes it a little bit easier to understand like where do I own, obviously. So it works. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Appreciate you guys watching. Again, if you are thinking about moving down to Northwest Arkansas, download my 3-day itinerary linked below. Maybe you're a venturer, maybe you're a sports person, maybe you're a foodie, maybe you're a sightseer. There's a 3-day itinerary link down below for you. Also, when you do come down here, definitely give me a call. I can kind of give you the $10 tour, show you around the whole area. Plus, we can check out some homes for sale or for rent and see how far your dollar will go in Northwest Arkansas compared to where you're coming from. All right, guys, let's see you in the next one.